Welcome to Success in Motion. Join us as we dive deep with top leaders, entrepreneurs, and professionals, uncovering strategies to grow, scale, and succeed.
Welcome back to the Success in Motion podcast. I'm your host, Alex Burho, and today we are joined by Stephen Tart. He's been doing some pretty incredible things in the AEC community, as well as he's been an entrepreneur for a really long time, been doing some great stuff. So thanks again, Stephen, for joining us on the show today.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I'm very looking forward to having our conversation today.
Yeah, I'm excited to learn. So I want you to just give us a quick snapshot of who you are, what you work on. Tell us a little bit
Sure,
about what you've done.
sure. So my background, I actually grew up in the Midwest. I grew up in a family business that's completely unrelated to what I'm doing today. I moved to the Tampa, Florida area back in 1998, and I had started my first kind of small engineering firm in Illinois. Had an investor come in, and we could do the work 12 months a year, 12 months a year in Florida versus about 8.5 in Illinois. And so we transferred down. And so we were plugging along, doing different things. I stayed very small on purpose. I have 5 adult children, but small at the time. And so we were 8 people doing about 700,000 a year in revenue till the end of 2016. When my youngest daughter graduated or was senior year of high school, that's when we exploded. And so as of today, we are about 225 employees, and we did about 32 million in 20 in 2024, and we're continuing to grow. So it's really in the focus primarily on the architecture, engineering, and construction industry, and it's a handful. We probably got, I don't know, 10 or 12 companies in that area that are cover many aspects of engineering that are related to infrastructure stuff that you drive on or walk through or all those kind of things. So it's been fun. It's been a very fast pace from 2016 to today and continues.
Yeah, seriously. I mean, going from basically single digit employees to triple digit employees and what's that, like 8 years or so?
Yeah,
So,
we sped right along.
okay, so tell us, what did you do that helped contribute to such rapid growth?
Yeah, I think what maybe crazily the main thing is I have a pretty good tolerance for risk, and I have an awesome wife who we were high school sweethearts. We've been married for 38 years. Has always been, hey, do what you need to do. And she's retired at the end of this year, but she's worked with us for 30 years. She's kind of like our CFO, main business manager. So,
That's
but I would say those two things. And I also say, you know, people ask me, hey, what advice would you give? I'd say fail fast, because not everything is supposed to work. Businesses have life cycles. I read a recent book called Necessary Endings, which was awesome, which I took 2 businesses and closed after I read that book. So things like that, just, be bold and don't worry. You want to be careful with risk, not crazy, but you got to be able to take risks to go grow like this.
absolutely. So, you said you like to fail fast. How did you decide where to fail fast or what ideas to hold on to?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and what's interesting, right, is so I've been doing this, gosh, I don't know, 40 some years. I really didn't learn that till about the last 4. How about
Okay.
that? So, and what really happened, maybe longer, a little longer than that, maybe 6. So I had the family business, a lot of sentimentality and attachment to that. I had the engineering, the first startup we did, same thing. Once I started getting multiple companies, I kind of lost the affinity, I'll say, or the sentimentality for the first one. And because the prior two, I held on way too long to things. I should have let things go. If they weren't working, I should have just very quickly gotten out of those. And that's what I've done in the last 6 years, and I really accelerated this last year.
Okay, I love that. So let's say there's someone in a similar situation where they've kind of kept a nice, steady, business. It's nice and
Sure.
small. They're looking to expand quickly. What would you say is something that came easy for you that might have been a little more difficult for the average person?
Yeah, I think probably what went through a lot of the M&A stuff I've done is generally has been owner financed with very little down. I mean, I have to put money in, but I'm getting owners who are looking to transition. And there, so that, in our industry, a lot of guys get into their late 50s to early 70s and they wake up one day and go, oh, I'm ready to be done. But they didn't have any planning, right? Or they're struggling and they really don't know how to get out. And so what's been easy for me and not and hard for others is I look beyond just the numbers, right? Most people come in, let's run your financials, let's look at your EBITDA, let's talk a multiple, right?
Hmm.
And you can do there's lots majority that's how it works. I don't look that's a metric for me. That's not how I look at the deal. I look at a lot of the EQ. I look what can I come in and fix and tweak, and I allow the owner. I talk about their legacy that I'm going to continue their legacy. I'm going to take care of their employees. So a lot of those things that are very difficult for people to convey. And it's just a level. I think it's a level of being authentic, right? I don't blow smoke up their skirt. I have a track record where we bought firms and, you know, 99% of those employees are still with us years later, right? It's you owners typically, most companies for an owner is like their child and they're concerned about their child. And so when they're selling, they're really concerned about their employees and what's going to happen. They don't want to, they don't want somebody to come in here and then just start slashing employees to increase profits or, increase yields or whatever. And so I think that is something that's difficult for people. I mean, I've sat across from deals where I've told like if they'll hire a broker or someone like that, and I'll just be like, listen, you're going to kill this deal for the owner you're representing if you can't just get off just the hardcore numbers. And I get approached all the time about selling stuff, and I just laugh at them when they're like that, right? It's just send me your numbers and we'll make you an offer. And it's like, God, there's so much more to this.
Yeah, absolutely. So how did you develop that system of, how do you find the value of the business if it's not just off the numbers?
Yeah, so I think that was kind of a trial and error, right? I mean, I excuse me, I tell people, you go to college, you learn how to think, you learn how to solve. You don't come out of college as an engineer actually knowing how to do anything, right? So you really learn your skills OJT, so on the job training, right? And that's kind of how I feel like that's how I've developed our method. I kind of had an idea of the targeted market, but getting to where we've been very successful, once we engage, we usually get to a close, is really just trial and error and trying to be empathetic and being focused on, to me, it has to be a win-win. If there's a lose for either party, it's a bad deal. 100% bad deal. But lots of companies go after acquisitions just like that, right? They're trying to win on really generally financially win, and it's ugly, right? And in our industry, it's like I heard some crazy figure. I think it's true. Like 70% of mergers and acquisitions fail.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, and I think that's because it goes in a win or loser instead of a win-win. I think they say it's a win-win, but when you peel the onion back, it's really what's a win-lose.
Gotcha. So if someone, I mean, again, every industry is a little different,
Sure.
but how did you go about finding all these different deals or looking for all these different deals? What were you doing to get the deal flow?
Yeah, so it was very interesting. So I will go out and look for firms where I know that the ownership is getting older, right? So that could be with firms I've been working with, or I'll be at an event or whatever, and somebody mentions such and such firm, and we'll talk. And I'm always asking, hey, what's the ownership structure like? How old are the owners? Do they have, do you know if they have a transition plan? The other way is I get quite a few calls from business brokers, right? So we got a company to sell. We got a company to sell. And then I have a new formula that I developed about 3 years ago with them when a broker brings me a business, how I handle that transaction. So I went through two or three with them where they were kind of in control, and the deals never happened because they have created they give the sellers unreliable and unnecessary expectations.
That's that's very true. Sometimes they're like, "This is how it is," and not really.
No. What I do now is I tell the broker and I tell the seller, okay, the broker is going to get his fee regardless. And you go sit on the sideline. We'll call you when it's time to sign documents and write you your check.
I love that. Work directly with the seller, get them
Right.
going. I love it. So, what would you say has been some of the biggest challenges you've had to overcome as you've grown so rapidly?
Oh, processes, structure. When you have this kind of growth that fast, I mean, it's things from your accounting system to your HRIS system. So, right, your HR information system, um, proper middle management, the people that got you here, not always are the people that are going to take you to the next level. So, you have all that change, culture, integration, to money, cash flow, borrowing capital to do more things. I mean, it's an endless list. It's why you're not, that's to me, that's what's the difference between being an entrepreneur and being a guy who's a CEO of a firm. Because that CEO may be ultimately responsible for it all, but his hands is not in all of it. Where an entrepreneur, you are in all of
You wear all the different caps when you're the
that.
entrepreneur.
Well, funny story, real quick.
Yeah.
So my oldest daughter runs our traffic data collection firm in Jacksonville, and her and my daughter and my wife were out for lunch yesterday, and she was like, "I do." She's running one company with about 20 employees. They're doing, I don't know, 3.5 million, $4 million a year in revenue. And they've got one office in Florida, one office in Virginia. And she's like, I have no clue how you and dad did this and have all these companies and all the things that go on and all the stress. And so it's pretty, so she's learning what it is to be an entrepreneur.
Yeah, I bet. So, again, part of being an entrepreneur is learning what to take on yourself and what to
Yes.
kind of hire out or give elsewhere. How did
Yes.
you make that decision as you've had this growth?
Yeah. So I got to a point about 3 years ago, 4 years, yeah, probably three, maybe a little longer. And I'm like, if we're really going to explode, I can't be the cog, right? I can't be the chokehold of what goes on. I can only do so much. Well, like most entrepreneurs, I'm also unadmitted control freak, right? So when I hired my first COO, I actually hired a coach to help me let go, so that
Okay.
I could let them do their job. Because the worst thing you can do is undermine them, right? And so that's what I did. Is I actually hired a business coach to help me teach me. I knew I needed to let go, but even though I knew I couldn't do it by myself.
Gotcha. And that's really smart. Again, something I've heard consistently is you hire to get a coach who can teach you the
Yep.
things that you struggle with. I
Yeah,
love
and,
it.
and it's funny because I don't like to spend money on things like that, but there are times where you're like, wow, it's really worth the money.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
Yeah, I joke
So,
that I don't like to hire consultants, but that's what we are. We're consultants. So please hire me, but I don't want to hire you.
makes sense. Okay. So, sounds like a lot of things are going really well. Again, that rapid
Mm-hmm.
growth is incredible. I know you talked
Mm-hmm.
about how other people are looking towards the future and, retirement kind of creeps up on them. As you've looked towards your future, how are you trying to create that more passive income to help supplement or even replace your active income?
Sure. So the main strategy is going to be I came across a book that somebody gave me called Half Retire.
Okay.
Basically, the idea is you have you can buy a company or companies, you bring in somebody to operate it, you give them a decent chunk of equity, and you meet with them quarterly or whatever you want to do, and you get checks every month. So I'm lucky enough to do that because, like I said, I've got three of my five children running. One's in the holding company, two are running a company each. And then I brought a new CEO about a year ago, and so we're going to do that. So there's going to be part of that. There'll be a flip of some portion of the portfolio in about 3 or 4 years. So that'll be another way of passive income of just right. I'm going to have annuities and money that come in from that. And then, like every other entrepreneur I listen to, and even on other podcasts that I've enjoyed that you put on, is we all, for whatever reason, seem to dabble in real estate. And
Yep.
that to me, that's we don't. It's not like I have 50 rental homes. I'll buy something we did a small apartment building. We built a duplex, kept it 2 years. We actually just flipped it. So it's mine's more like that. It's not a buy and hold for long term.
Yeah, for sure.
So
And I think the statistic is something like 90% of millionaires have done some connection to real estate. It's crazy.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So as we're wrapping up our interview, what exciting things do you have coming down the pipeline in the next 6 months to a year?
I think for us, it's for us kind of corporately in the AEC industry. It is sorry about that. It is continuing to scale. But for me personally, as I was sharing with you prior, that I'm an avid Matchbox diecast collector. My wife gives me a hard time. She goes, "Of course, you will take a hobby and turn it into a business," and that's really what we've done. I'm a collector first, but then I had no idea that there are millions of diecast collectors around the globe. I am buying and selling Matchbox cars on every continent on Earth on a weekly basis. It is unbelievable, right? And so last year goofing around with selling my doubles and things like that. We did almost $200,000 in sales.
Wow.
Doing Facebook auctions 5 hours a week, maybe 2 nights a week. And so
That's
I'm like,
impressive.
okay, so because what I'm going to do is I'm going to scale back at I have to go to work and work to,
Hmm.
I want to do this as a hobby ish, but still be able to generate money, still be entrepreneurial. So that's where I'm headed.
That's awesome.
And
And you know, they
still
say,
staying with the M&As, with the mergers and things like that in our real thing. But yeah, this should be a real fun thing.
they love to say if you follow your passion, you can
Right.
make money in whatever it is. So that's impressive with the Matchbox.
Yeah, so it'll be very interesting to see where it goes.
Well, perfect. Well, Steve, thanks so much for your time today. If
You
anyone
bet.
wants to connect more with you and either ask questions about
Hmm.
rapid expansion or business acquisition or whatever it would be, what's the best way to get a hold of you?
Yeah, probably the best way is through my LinkedIn. It's
Okay,
I'm very active on LinkedIn, so that's probably the simplest.
perfect. All right. Well, thank you so much for your time. Any
You
of our
bet.
listeners, go ahead and go connect with Steve on his LinkedIn, and we will catch you on the next episode.
Thank you.
Thanks for tuning into Success in Motion. Want to share your story? Visit successinmotionpodcast.com/guest to apply and be featured on the show.